Hola! Hola, everyone, and welcome to this review of Brac. Just got this in the mail today. It is a comic book. It is by writer Ryan Houck, I think I pronounce it. Artist Raphael Sam. Letter and designer Tobin Brac. Designer Milton Aguiar. So, let's take a look at this little brickety brac, because I also have a PDF version of it. All right, so first let's take a look at this book now that I'm smaller again. It is printed well. Feels solid. No fluting on the pages, which is nice. Kind of a matte printing, but not like bad. Books don't need to be all shiny inside. I don't know if you call this matte. I think you do. But the outside is, of course, glossy and nice and thick. I don't usually like floppy comics or single issue comics like this, but I will say, if you're going to do it like this. Make it a little heftier, like it's actually gonna hold up to repeated handlings. So overall, I am pretty impressed with the printing job. The only criticism I have is it doesn't really lay flat. I don't know if that's just my comic, but it is, as you can see there, it's kind of wants to bulge there. All right, let's take a look at some of the pages of Bric and talk about it. So I've read through it. I've thought about my, I've analyzed it very deeply and very thoroughly. And overall, I think it's pretty good. Now, it's the writer of it is a pretty young guy. One of his first works. He did some anthology stuff that he wrote before, I believe, and now he has done this. And the idea behind this comic, if you didn't back it or buy it or do whatever with it, is that it is Christmas themed, and he wanted to tell sort of a Christmas story without, bringing in a lot of cultural elements of Christmas, not really touching on more the idea of what he wanted Christmas to be like. I think is what he said. So this is Planet Christmas. You can see the art here is actually really fun and really good. I'm pretty surprised. I'm going to pull up here on my phone. I probably should have prepped this before, But the whole shenanigans around this book, by shenanigans I just mean how much money did it bring in on its Indiegogo campaign? Because that's where it was sold, was Indiegogo. I mean, this is a pretty professional little review, right? And I mean, I couldn't just start this over. All right, so they brought in total $5,995 on Indiegogo, and I don't know that it had a Kickstarter. I'm not gonna look. Some of these books, they do both. I don't know if this guy did. So, this art by one Raphael Sam is really pretty cool. I'd say this is comparable to the more children-friendly books that you're going to see in your local comic shop. Pretty expressive characters, bright colors, fun. I really like these panel layouts. Nice big wide panels there to show you, but then you also have these fun borders. Gives me some ideas. I like these ships. If you know me personally, you might know that I like sailing ships. Currently in this room there are there's two paintings and one print of a sailing ship on the walls. So you can't see them, and I can't see them from where I'm sitting, but they're there, I promise you. So, I like these. These are kind of fun, almost toy-like, which works because these are Nutcracker characters here. And you can see that the art is pretty fun. I think pretty vibrant, and it looks like these characters are actually flying. Good stuff, man. I like the art overall. I won't go through the whole book. Don't want to spoil everything, but you can see here, you're setting up this character as the hero. Overall, I'd say on the story, the writing is good. It's not. I think I might have caught one typo possibly, which happens. I do typos all the time. There's typos in printed books and things, but overall, good story. I think that sometimes with comics nowadays, writers tend to write for longer, and I was kind of a little bit disappointed with the amount of story in the book. I really felt that we just got the initial setup, and then we've got to wait until the second crowdfunding. And I'm not a big fan of that. I think when you have a monthly book coming out, it's different. When you're going to the local comic book shop and you're buying a monthly book, you have an expectation that that comic book publisher is going to have that book out the next month. That was the big problem Image Comics had back in the day, was they were putting out an issue, and then for whatever reason, some of these artists for Image were not delivering stuff on time. They weren't keeping up with their schedules, and things got lost in the shuffle. Now, I'm not accusing these people of that. I don't think they're going to be like that. But I think those long periods of times can hurt people, because they might be losing interest. I know there's been times that I've been thinking about a project or a game that's going to come out or a book or something, and then honestly it takes so long that I forget about it. And sometimes I don't remember that it even exists. And I don't always check my email. Sometimes I go into my email and just mass get rid of whatever I haven't read, because if it's not important, skim through, see if there's something important, and get rid of it. So updates and email lists don't always work. But I will say overall, I'm enjoying the story. I think it's fun. I could see this as some sort of animated property really easily. Especially like this logo. That's pretty cool. I mean, I could picture this on a Netflix, as a Netflix original little show with these characters. The designs are good. The story is kind of fun. We'll see where it goes. I think there's going to be 2 issues of this total. But I hope that this isn't the trend. I know that for a long time on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, people have some people put out graphic novels with a complete story. Some people go the more traditional single issue floppy route, the saddle stitched route. And I think that the ability to tell a story in this amount of pages is important, especially when you've got a comic that's geared towards a family audience or a children's audience. If you notice, a lot of times you go to buy a book from DC Comics, and their young readers line, or whatever it's called these days, you're usually going to get a complete story in there, if not more than one. Now, obviously, that's for a reason, because little kids aren't going to come back necessarily next month to get it. Usually, I think a lot of those books are just picked up if the kid is with them, or maybe an uncle says, hey, let me get this for my nephew or niece, a little friend down the street. But when it comes to Bric-a-Brac, I will say that I think it's good. I'm going to hopefully get the second book and back that. Hopefully I'll remember. But if you guys haven't checked it out, check it out for yourself. See what you like. They might be selling the digital version, which would be fun for you guys to check out. I liked it. I don't really give out starred reviews or anything most of the time. I used to on my blog a long time ago, but I don't really do it much anymore. I usually just try to give my impressions and my thoughts about things. Therefore, this is what I'm thinking, and you can sort of gauge your interest, hopefully, out for the art and the story. I don't want to go too much into the story because there's not much really to tell. People attacking a village and fighting back. That's basically what it is, and then we'll sort of hopefully see the characters unfold a little bit more in the next issue. I wish these guys well. I hope that their next campaign is even more successful. Hopefully they'll offer the first one as well, and maybe someday collect them together. That's what I'm interested in. And let's transition into that, because why not? I can do whatever I want. I worry, we sort of touched on this earlier, I worry that if we only go towards these single issues, that, especially the ones with a lot of variant covers, and there's a lot of people that are guilty of this. It's not just one person. I could see one variant cover for a collected work. Somebody wants to do a special cover for a special edition of the book. Gary Shipman, who, if you've watched my channel, you probably know I like, as I've talked twice about some of his work. He did, not I wouldn't call variant covers, but his special edition had a cover by Mike S. Miller. And I think that's kind of cool. A special edition, or a special stretch goal cover, those are cool. But when you're coming back with a ton of different covers, I don't really see the point of it, especially if it's meant to promote sales as opposed to giving people an added bonus. It really reeks of the 90s to me, and what kind of broke a lot of the industry. You can't blame variant covers and gimmicks for the speculator boom. That was really the early comics selling for a lot of money and people thinking that comics were going to be worth that. But playing into those ideas, lots of variant covers, it's only a step away from crossover events and making sure you have to read all these different things. And I hope that that's not where we're going to go with the industry. This sort of independent movement, this freedom of self-publishing that's really happened. And for the first time in a long time, there seems like there's a lot of people out there that are trying to get books out there. And if you're going the single issue route, I think you kind of need to speed it up a little bit. Even if the single issues are, maybe a 40-page book or something, if the story's not concluded, or there's not a complete story within that book, I tend to get kind of bored with it, and I'm not paying attention to the next one. Whereas if I'm getting a complete story, a satisfying read, that then leads me up to, hey, there's another book eventually going to come out, then I'm more interested in that. Can I put that into words why that is? I don't know. Maybe not. But I will say that I think at some of the prices that people are charging for these books. Now, this one was only, I think, $10. And I can understand that. What we're doing with these, let's see, $12 was the price, I think. So $12 for, a standard comic book. Now, the thing we need to remember with crowdfunding is you're not really buying something. You're usually paying for it to be produced. And so you're going to pay a premium for that. You're helping someone to get their book out there, get them inventory in stock so that they can continue to sell those books through other means. That's the idea behind the crowdfunding. So that's why they offer incentives, at least classically on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. The idea is sometimes you weren't even getting what was crowdfunded. You're just helping people, and they give you something in return. But I think if you're going to be essentially pre-ordering these books, you're going to put them out, you're going to buy a certain amount of them, I think a complete story is not too much to ask for. And hopefully some of these creators will go that route. A book that I am interested in, that I have not read, but I am interested in, we'll look at here in a second. Is Kyrie, Book 1, The Curse of the Macedonian Scroll. Now, I have not read this book, but this creator, Matt Krutz, he actually used to have this online, and now he's collected it into a work, and it's 128 pages. The second book is, I think, a similar length that he is coming out soon. Let's see, I believe he has... it doesn't show... All right. Well, it doesn't show his second book. But I think if you look at this idea of 128 pages, a long story, really something robust. Not everyone works at this pace. I think this guy, Matt, he works completely digital, and there is a lot of, people work at different speeds. However, I don't think it's too much to ask to try to tell a complete story, at least a satisfying story. Leaving us in the middle of the action, or just setting up a prologue and then you're gonna set up something later. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the sort of Bendis, Brian Michael Bendis style of what they call decompression, where you're basically telling a story over this long period of time, designing for the trades. Just give me the trade. We don't have to put out individual comics. We have the freedom now to choose how we want to do this. And I'm willing to wait longer for a longer book. That's just the bottom line when it comes to me personally. I could see maybe releasing single issues throughout a year that you're producing them if you're getting them done. And then at the end of the year collecting them. That I'm supportive of. But I'm wary of a lot of single issue comics. Some people might like those. For me personally, it's not really my thing. But when it comes to the Bric, I do like this one. And I'll tell you why. It feels a little bit heftier. Now, that might be silly. But you pick up your normal comic book off the shelf, and it feels kind of disposable. This one at least feels like it could be a book that you take out every Christmas. And that I like. So if you're going to go the single issue route, I like this harder, more hefty book. That is all I have to say. And adios, amigos.